So I'll just get straight into it. And like I said, if anyone's got any questions whilst we're going through it, feel free to drop it in the chat below. And I'll just keep an eye and make sure that I'm entering everybody into the meeting as we go. So I just really wanted to host a little bit of I guess, just I'd call it a masterclass, but just a presentation to have you all a little bit more pumped up and feeling inspired going into what is already like halfway through January, which is absolutely terrifying. I know for a lot of people, January can either be really like hit or miss. Either we are all super motivated and we're on it, or we are dragging ourselves through January, and January can often be a really slow month for a lot of people. So I figured halfway through the month would be a good time to run this presentation and hopefully have you feeling a little bit more inspired, little more motivated, to kind of continue with your goals through January, whatever that goal is. I know for a lot of you, when a lot of you who follow me, the goal is typically to either drop fat, it's to get fitter, get stronger, generally improve your health, improve your fitness, which I imagine why a lot of you are here. So this is kind of what the masterclass is gonna cover, like how to feel better, how to get back in control, and how to see results without burnout. Because more often than not, January screams at us diet culture, that we need to be really restrictive, that we need to completely change our whole identity, and we need to become this completely different person. And when you go full steam ahead like that and try and completely overhaul your whole life, more often than not, it ends up in overwhelm, burnout, and then you're back to square one. And more often than not, we end up gaining weight because we've just completely reverted back to where we were before. So the whole goal of this masterclass is to maybe give you some tips that are actually sustainable, maintainable, and actually can help you move forward through January, however that looks for you. So, being honest, I'm pretty sure a lot of you already know what you need to do. You are just struggling to stick to it because you feel tired, because you feel stressed, because you feel overwhelmed, because life is just lifing and there is never, ever, ever a good time to, start a new, not, I don't want to call it a diet, but start a new, or take up new habits, try to improve your health and your fitness. You can guarantee that as soon as you start, life is going to throw shit at you. And then it makes fat loss feel way harder than it actually should be. And for a lot of people, it is not more motivation that you need, it's actually direction. People say to me all the time, I'm just not motivated. And I want to scream at people because if I relied on motivation myself, I would never go to the gym. I hardly ever, I never look for that feeling of motivation. I've got to a point now in my fitness journey where it's discipline. For me, going to the gym is the same as brushing my teeth. It's just become part of my routine. Not saying that you all need to go to the gym every single day, you absolutely don't. But if you want to take on new habits and improve your health and your fitness, you have to see these things as part of your daily routine, daily structure, like brushing your teeth, rather than only going and doing those things when you feel motivated. Because 9 times out of 10, none of us are ever going to be motivated to do it. So, for a lot of us, fat loss isn't the goal. Feeling better is. Fat loss tends to be a just an add-on from when you start to feel better, you're going to eat better. When you feel calmer, you're going to make better decisions. And when you move your body, that motivation, that discipline will follow. Results come from how you live, not how hard you diet. Like I said, so many times January is screaming at us, restriction is screaming, we need to overhaul our whole life. We don't. So many times, if we actually looked at things and looked at the bigger picture and actually saw, improving our health and our fitness as trying to feel better in general, not just only focusing on the scales, we would actually enjoy the process so much more. With my coaching, I don't ever want you to feel like you're forcing results. We create the conditions for them. And that's, like I said, that's when the fat loss is kind of the fat loss follows once you feel better. Because like I said, when you feel better, you eat better. and so on. So a lot of the reason why dieting keeps failing is this cycle that I'm sure all of us has been through, where we have extreme restriction. So whether it's doing a shake diet, whether it's having to cut out chocolate, whatever it is, there's always some sort of extreme restriction, which leads to stress because when you're told that you can't have something, already that's brings up this stress hormone in our body. When we are stressed, we then, an add-on from that, we have cravings because as soon as somebody says you can't have that piece of chocolate, you want it 10 times more. Then that will also come along with fatigue. So not only are you then stressed, you're now craving your favorite food that you feel like you can't have, and you're also massively fatigued, so you're tired, and that tiredness is going to lead into inconsistency, where you're not going to want to stick to your diet plan, you're not going to want to go to the gym, you're not going to want to hit your steps. And that leads to inconsistency, and then the cycle starts again. And like I put here, you can't hate yourself into a body you love. And what I find what really frustrates me about diet culture itself is that the word diet already implies, when we think about diets, we think about a small window of time. We see a diet as like 6 week, 8 week, 3 month, whatever it is, a short period of time. And then we kind of then have this preconceived idea that, okay, we're going to stick to eating like this for a certain way. And after that, we're just going to go back to what we did before. And that completely defeats the whole point. With the approach that I take, it's about learning how to enjoy food, how to keep the foods that you love into your, when I say diet, I mean just the actual, like the food that we're eating, um, without needing to go overboard, without restriction, because there's just no need. Like I said, diet screams, and from years and years of diet culture, we've been told like diet is a temporary fix. It's not a long-term solution. When you are wanting to change something about your life, whether it's your health, your fitness, your body, whatever it is, you need to look at it as becoming part of your lifestyle, not this temporary way of eating or temporary way of moving your body. Otherwise, it's not going to stick. So when it comes to my coaching, I have what's called the Glow Up framework. So this is where I first of all want clients to feel better, because when you feel better, you're going to act better. And when you act better, you're going to look better. So the whole purpose of this and trying to get across to you is that, one, I want you to improve how your body feels. I want to help you build habits that support your energy. And like I've said, fat loss then flows naturally from that. For a lot of us, fat loss tends to be like the main goal, but without these things, without feeling good, without building habits that support your energy, that fat loss isn't going to happen, or it's not going to stay around for very long, because it's not sustainable. So I've put together a couple of slides that cover the main points, the main strategies I teach my clients. And again, I'm sure it's things that you have already been told, been aware of. But sometimes I feel like when it's said in a different way, or when it's put across in a different way, it can resonate a little bit differently, or there might be a word or a sentence that you pick up here that you think, actually, yeah, that resonates with me. So if that happens, feel free to drop it in the chat. And like I said, anything that I cover throughout this, feel free to just add your questions to the chat and I will answer them after. So one of the main ones would be to move your body to feel good, not to punish it. I think so many people, when it comes to wanting to tone up, wanting to look good, think that they need to go to the gym every single day. You absolutely don't. Again, you are never going to stick to any sort of new fitness plan, new anything, if it's not realistic and achievable for you. When it comes to my one-to-one coaching, there isn't like a cookie cutter approach I have, because everybody's different. And I think this is where social media can actually be really, really not damaging, but just really where we use the whole comparison cycle, where we think we need to, because so and so is going to the gym 5 times a week, we need to do that. And actually that maybe doesn't work for you, that doesn't work for your lifestyle. So when I say move your body, I mean move your body in a way that feels good for you, in a way that is actually achievable and sustainable for you. For some people, that might be going to the gym 4 times a week, and that's great. I will always, always, always encourage every female, especially, to strength train, because not only does it help women build that tone and that muscle that they are looking for when they say they want to be toned, but it's also so important for building good bone density. So as we get older, unfortunately, as well as our muscle depleting, our bones get weaker, and strength training is the only form of movement of training that is actually going to help strengthen your bones. I don't know about you, but when I'm an old lady, I don't want to be an old lady that falls over and breaks her wrist because she's frail and she doesn't have good bone density. I know it's, bone density isn't very exciting, but it's imperative for health. So, in an ideal world, I would love every single woman to be able to strength train. For some ladies, that's once a week, and that once a week is better than nothing, 100%. That could be going to the gym, that could be doing a strength training class, that could be working out with some dumbbells at home. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. Something is better than nothing. But I also understand that everybody's schedule and life is different, and sometimes this isn't always achievable for everybody. But if you can strength train, like I said, it's not just from an aesthetic point of view, it's from a bone density and longevity point of view. So if you can strength train, please strength train. Um, Even things like walking massively helps with mental health, helps you clear your head. I always recommend if you could just get outside for even like 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, like it will massively boost your mood and your energy, like any movement does. And like I've put on here, no, you don't need to train every single day. Do I encourage you to all move your body in some form every single day? Absolutely. We were never made for just sitting down at desks or doom scrolling on our phones. If you can do some sort of movement every single day, whether that's stretching, going for a walk, going for a run, doing a workout, doing yoga, doing Pilates, swimming, walking up and down your stairs, like anything is going to help you move your body and feel good. And like I've put in here, consistency comes from enjoying how movement makes you feel. So, like I said, for some people, they absolutely hate going to the gym, and that's okay. Like, you don't have to go to the gym. For some people, their favorite form of movement is dancing, is boxing. Do something that makes you feel good, that you get excited to do. I still find it absolutely mad that some people can go their whole life and just get up, go to work, come home and don't move their body. And for so many people, they don't do anything about their health and their fitness until it's too late. So I was encouraged everybody to move your body in some form that makes you feel good. And if anybody needs any workout plans, anything like that, just drop me a DM. I've got loads of workout guides, workout playlists on YouTube. Feel free to just send me a DM and I can ping some ideas over to you if you're not sure where to start. Secondly, is eat to feel better, not restricted. So in an ideal world, we would all have, the most organic, unprocessed diets going. But for one, we can't all afford that. For two, that's not always convenient. We don't always have time. So, in an ideal world, I would always recommend that you have mostly unprocessed foods, because the more unprocessed food you have, the better your energy is going to be. It's not till you look on the back of packets of a lot of things that you realize how much crap is in our food. And the more crap we eat, the crappier we feel. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't eat crap. I absolutely do. I just had a little packet of party rings, like I'm not perfect. But I also know that the less of that crap I eat, the better I feel. So, 80% of my diet will come from mostly unprocessed foods. Think vegetables, fruits, lean meats, fish, veggies. Basically, the less processed the food, the better you're going to feel. Your body's going to enjoy it. And I now notice a massive difference when I have a bit of a day where I'm just eating shit, or just, a lot more processed food than normal, than the days where I eat a lot cleaner and a lot, healthier. Um, Protein is also a big one. I know a lot of people can get really overwhelmed with protein and how much protein they should be having. I'm going to keep it really simple for you all, that I would say like aim for a minimum of 100 grams of protein a day is a good, reasonable amount for most women. If you don't quite hit that, that's okay. It definitely can be a little bit harder if you are vegan or veggie to get protein in, and you might find that you might have to supplement with, you know, whether it's a protein powder or a protein bar. Again, not the end of the world. But around about 100 grams is more often than a good ballpark figure to aim for. And a really good way of working this out, or making this more easier to work out when you're trying to track your foods or just plan your meals, is to think about having a protein source with each meal, and aiming to have, if you're having 100 grams a day, like 25 grams. If you're having like 4 meals, so like a breakfast, lunch, snack, and dinner, aim for like 25 grams in each of those meals. So for breakfast, that could be Greek yogurt, could be your protein source, or eggs, egg whites, protein powder with some oats. All ideas have gone from my head now. That that could be an example for breakfast. For lunch, it could be any sort of lean meat. It could be chicken, beef, turkey. It could be prawns. It could be tofu. It could be, again, eggs, egg whites. For a snack, it could be Greek yogurt, it could be cottage cheese, it could be deli turkey slices, it could be a protein bar, it could be a protein shake. And then dinner could look like what you'd have for lunch. There is no right or wrong, but I would just always encourage anyone, when you're looking at protein, try and pick a protein source and then build your meals around the protein source. So for instance, say if you like, for breakfast, I want to have an omelette. You could have 2 eggs and some egg whites, and then you would build in your carbs. That could be some sourdough, that could be a bowl of oats on the side, that could be some fruit, and then you want to build in your fat. So for breakfast, maybe you might add in half an avocado, or if you're going to have some oats with it, you could have peanut butter on the oats, that sort of thing. But I would always start with your protein source and then build the rest of your meals, what's in your meals around that, if that makes sense. But 100 grams of protein a day is more often than a really good ballpark. And when it comes to those meals, the more balanced that your meals can be, the fewer cravings you're going to have. So like I just mentioned, when you eat shit, you feel like shit. When you don't eat as much of it and you're eating balanced meals that have a really good source of protein, that have a good source of complex carbs that can help you feel full, when you have a good source of fats and you have a good source of fiber, you will just naturally find that those meals are going to fill you up, and they're probably going to actually help you last until lunchtime, until dinner time, because they don't have any typical nasties in them. They're not going to spike your insulin. You're not going to be craving sugar. When you have a balanced meal that helps regulate your hormones and regulate your hunger levels, it's going to be much easier to manage cravings, because you're just typically not going to have as many. And then obviously, of course, you know me, I'm a big sweet treat gal. And the biggest thing that I always encourage my clients to do is to keep fun foods into your diet. So there is no need to cut out any food. You don't need to, if your favorite go-to on a week is a glass of wine, I have clients who track their calories, and I will see they've had a glass of wine, and I'm like, great, because to me, that's showing that they are allowing themselves to have that fun food. They're not restricting, and they're still making progress. Like, for instance, I shared on my story earlier, one of my clients who joined a week ago was like, I've tried all the diets, they don't work. She was like, my favorite thing each day to eat is the little, I think they're like, is it Tunnocks? Tea cakes, the little marshmallow tea cakes. And I said to her, I said, cool, like, you keep that into your daily allowance. If that is the thing that you look forward to, I want you to still have that. Because if I said to you, you can't have that, you are then going to want that 10 times more than you ever did. So she kept it in there. She planned the rest of her meals to be, as balanced as possible. Maybe they weren't perfect, but she's making the effort, the conscious effort. And lo and behold, because she allowed herself to have that tea cake in her calories every single day, it meant she stayed on track. She stayed within her calorie goal, and she has lost 5 pounds in her first week. So there is absolutely no reason why you need to cut out your favorite foods. Doesn't mean you have to maybe practice in moderation if you love all of the sweet treats. Absolutely. For a lot of my clients, I will say to them, Okay, no more than like 200 calories on a sweet treat, because when we start having any more than 200 calories, then it can get into the realms of you're kind of then giving your body more sugar than it wants. And then that's when cravings can be a lot harder to manage. So I will typically say to them, have three balanced meals, have your sweet treat, and ideally pair that sweet treat with a protein source of some sort. So sometimes for me, if I really fancy, I don't know, Galaxy Ripple, which is like, I think they're like 170 calories. Sometimes I will have a protein yogurt with a load of berries. So I've got a good source of fiber, I've got a good source of protein, and then I will eat that, and then I will also eat my Galaxy Ripple after. Whereas if I just had the Galaxy Ripple, within 10 minutes I'll be like, cool, that didn't fill me up. So where possible, try not to see your sweet treat or your whatever your thick fix is as a standalone thing. Often pairing it with a good protein source can really help with the satiety level, so keeping you full rather than just having it off the cuff. If you're like me and you can't always control how much you have. When you fuel your body properly, fat loss stops feeling hard, and exactly that. So many times my clients have started with me have said, I actually can't believe how easy it is. I think diet culture has just led us to believe that doing a diet or losing fat needs to be hard. It actually doesn't. It can actually be an enjoyable process when you're eating meals that you actually love. It then doesn't feel like a diet. Like it then just feels like part of your lifestyle, which is always the end goal. Fat loss still needs a deficit, but it doesn't need to be extreme. So if your goal here is to lose fat, you have to be aware that you will need to be eating in a calorie deficit. If anyone wants help working that out, I can send you the TDE website that I use, or I can just work it out for you. But the main point here is that when you are in a calorie deficit, make it realistic. So many people will download MyFitnessPal, and I don't know why it does it, but it literally will give you the most like extreme calorie deficit you've ever seen. Like the amount of people that have said to me, "Oh, MyFitnessPal put me in like a calorie deficit and I was eating like 1,200 calories a day." Like that is not sustainable. A sustainable, realistic deficit would be for me, I think my maintenance calories are like 1900. So just dropping my calorie deficit down by like 250, 300 is a realistic calorie deficit. If I go too extreme too soon, I'm then going to feel really hungry. I'm going to have no energy, and then it's going to be 10 times harder for me to even want to get my steps in, or want to go to the gym, or want to actually make progress with my calorie deficit. So, no starving, no cutting everything out. I highly recommend that you track for your awareness. I know sometimes this can feel a little bit overwhelming for people, especially if they've had eating disorders in the past, and that's something that I'd always would really navigate with precaution. But for most people who haven't, tracking is there for awareness, because I don't know about you, but I swear to God, my memory's worse than a goldfish. I will not remember what I've had for breakfast this morning, which is often why I just eat the same thing because it's easier for me to remember. But I will forget little things I've had unless I'm tracking it. And it's the same for all of my clients. You'll forget that you had a biscuit when your friend came around. You'll forget that you had that chicken nugget off your kid's plate. This is why tracking is there for awareness. It's not there to be this obsessive thing. See it as a way of being aware of how many calories you're having. But the process of tracking will actually educate you so much into what foods have high protein, what foods have high carbs, what foods have more fats. See it as a tool to help give you the knowledge about calories, about food, something that we never really got under. I didn't get taught it at school. It doesn't take long to learn. If you are on the Zoom call, clearly you can navigate your way around technology. It's not going to be hard. I do have a couple of videos on how to track correctly on MyFitnessPal. So if anybody wants that, I can send that over to you. It just gives some tips on like the best practices. Things like if you're having an omelette, don't type into MyFitnessPal omelette because it'll bring up 50,000 different omelettes that people have put in there. You need to be putting in your actual specific ingredients for an omelette. So, I don't know, 2 eggs, 150 ml of egg whites, some cheese. Like, you need to actually list in the individual ingredients. You can, to make your life easier, make meals in MyFitnessPal, or you can create recipes which are really good. So if you were making like a big lasagna for the family, you could put all of the ingredients into that recipe, and then you let MyFitnessPal know how many servings that makes. Then once it's in your MyFitnessPal database, you can then just add it to your diary. But do not make the mistake of just saying homemade lasagna, because we don't know who the hell has put that into MyFitnessPal, what's even gone in it. And 9 times out of 10, just because the way humans are, we're going to pick the lasagna that's like 200 calories. And we know for a fact that the lasagna is not 200 calories unless you're having a mouthful. So yeah, but there is a load of high protein recipe books I have on the link in my bio. So if you need any high protein, calorie friendly recipes that are actually taste nice, they don't taste like shit, then you can feel free to download them from there. And like I put on here, your results come from what you do most days, not some days. The quote that I always give all of my clients is, we're aiming for consistency, not perfection. Every day isn't going to be perfect, that's okay. But consistency over a long period of time is what gets you the results. Some days that looks good, sometimes some days that doesn't look as perfect, that's okay. The goal is to be consistent, not perfect. Now a big one that is probably the main thing that I focused on the last year, or even in like the last 6 months, is the missing piece that most people ignore, and that is really stress and sleep and your overall body's nervous system. Because if this isn't in a good place, it is going to make it harder to lose fat, because chronic stress will slow your fat loss. When your body is in a state of fight or flight, it will literally hold on to fat in order to reserve that later, thinking it's going to need it to survive, basically. When you are stressed, you're going to have poor sleep. And when you have a shit sleep, you are going to find that the next day your cravings are 100 times higher. Now, it's already hard enough for us as women when we have cycles, and the week before a period we are craving every single thing in sight. So throw into the mix having a bad sleep because you're stressed, because you've got so much on your mind. Naturally, when you have a poor sleep, your body's hormone levels are out of balance, and a huge side effect of that is higher appetite. Some people don't even know this is a thing, but yeah, if you listen to your body, you will notice that poor sleep will go hand in hand with feeling absolutely starving the next day, which is obviously going to then make it 10 times harder to stick to your calorie deficit. Steps can really help regulate stress, even going outside, like I said, getting fresh air. It's just so good for your mental health, especially. And what we're aiming for is to have a calm body as possible to get the better results. Now, I know we live in a world where we are going 100 miles an hour, where we want things yesterday, where there is so much pressure to do everything, to be everything, to be everyone. But one of the best things that you can try and do when you're on a fat loss journey is to try and actively calm your nervous system down as often as you can. A couple of practical ways of doing that are, like I said, daily walks outside, getting outside in the sunlight when it's not grey and visible in the UK. Going to bed earlier and not doom scrolling. So actually having a good sleep routine where maybe you come off your phone, you put your phone on do not disturb. Like, all of my friends know, if they text me past like 8 p.m, I'm probably not going to reply. I'll reply 6 a.m. the next day. Put your phone on do not disturb, set your alarm for the next day, and either, watch something on TV to help you wind down, or read a book, which will be even better, where your eyes aren't on the blue screen. That can really help you wind down before bed. But one of the best things I ever did was try and come off my phone like 2 hours before I go to bed. Again, I'm not gonna sit here and say I do that every night. I absolutely don't. Some nights I'm there like this, like having a bloody reel, and then I literally turn my phone off and I try and go to sleep and then wonder why I have a shit sleep. But 9 times out of 10, I'm reading a book and then I'm going to bed. I'm not on my phone. So that's a really, really good habit to get into to help with winding down and trying to de-stress your body. Another tip, which a lot of people don't even really consider, is to be mindfully eating and not rushing your food. More often than not, because we are so go, 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 and we are trying to multitask and do so many things at any one time, where our brains aren't even registering that we're eating. And I'm actually really bad at doing this because more often than not, I will sit and watch YouTube whilst I'm eating, which is really bad. But try as many times as possible to actually be mindful about when you're eating and what you're eating, because this is going to help your brain register to your gut that you are eating. It's going to signal that you are starting to get full, and therefore it's going to mean that you're not going to be hungry, that you're going to be able to control those cravings because your brain is aware that you are actually eating. When we are rushing, when we are trying to throw food down our throat because we're in and out of meetings and because life's stressful, your your brain doesn't even register that you've actually eaten. And again, it doesn't help the stress levels. And just having fewer all or nothing weeks, just trying not to feel so go, 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 which I know like January's the worst time because everybody's like, new year, new me. But one thing I've really, really tried to do in the last 2 months is to try and calm my body down. I think did I put in here other ways that I've done it? Yes, I did, yeah. Um, so for me, other ways of trying to like calm my nervous system down is trying not to rush everywhere. Um, I've really been trying to get into like watching positive or listening to positive affirmations. Journaling is really, really good for helping you to de-stress whenever you feel like, and I used to be so against this because I was like, I don't see how that's gonna help me at all. But when I was going through a really stressful time last year, I just felt like I had so much in my head that I just didn't know what to do with those thoughts. And my coach at the time was like, try journaling. And I was like, I don't think this is going to work. And she was like, trust me, just try it. There is something about journaling your thoughts when things feel really overwhelming and really stressful that I don't know. It might work for you, it might not. It definitely worked for me, and I was so anti it for so long. I don't know why. There's something so therapeutic about writing everything in your brain out on paper. I don't know. Try it. It might work, it might not. That's really helped me to manage my stress, is to write all my thoughts down. Like I said, positive podcasts, going on walks, um, learning things on YouTube. I have no, and maybe this is like really ignorant, I don't know, but I don't even watch the news. I just feel like the news is so negative. I just don't, I can't even, it really, really affects how my mood, and anything that I think really impacts your mood and your energy, I would 100% recommend removing. Obviously, there's certain things in the world that you probably should be aware of. And I know that there is YouTubes for that, which is great. But mainstream news, I don't watch. I just can't deal with the negativity. I don't, yeah, and whether that's ignorant or not, but I'm like, I just want to stay in my own bubble and be as positive as I can be. Breath work is really, really good. You can look at YouTube's on this. Meditation, again, I'm not going to claim to be like an expert. I'm absolutely not. For me, meditation looks like sitting down, closing my eyes, and trying to clear every thought in my mind. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that can really, really help you to de-stress, de-stress from certain situations. And like I said, affirmations to shift your self-talk. Your thoughts shape your habits, and your habits shape your results. And so often, I think all of us are wired to look at, well, we're all wired to be safe, to be comfortable. And sometimes when we're wanting to improve an area of our life, it can seem daunting, it can seem uncomfortable. And to our body, it doesn't always feel safe because we don't know how that feels. And actually, it can be really can seem really scary to step into a new identity, but you really have to train and rewire your brain to see yourself differently. I was explaining this to my clients the other day that when it comes to any sort of transformation, whether you just want to lose £10 or whether you want to take up running or whether you just want to start eating healthier, you are not going to be able to fully change and step into that identity of that new person if you are continually thinking and acting like your current or previous self. And a good way to think about this is that when you're playing a game on I don't know, PlayStation or whatever it is, you have to pick one player. You can't be both. And when it comes to your old habits and your new habits, they are two completely different people. And you really have to, and it sounds really savage, but you do have to kill off this old version of you in order to become the new one, because the new version of you is going to require some change, is going to require some form of new habit, of new mindset, of new beliefs in order to shift into that new identity. And I know it can seem uncomfortable and it can seem a bit like, oh, I'm not used to it, but you really have to just trust that in order to become this version, you literally have to kill off the old version of you. I know it sounds savage, but you can't be both. You can only choose one. And trust me when I say, if I can make the changes that I have over the last year and a half, like you definitely can too. Is it sometimes overwhelming and uncomfortable and doesn't always feel good? 100%. But is that part and parcel of the process? Yes. Will everybody get it? No. Will you have to cut away people from your life that don't understand, or maybe you have to set up boundaries from people who are naturally going to be negative about the changes that you're making? Yes. Will you regret that? Absolutely not. You will find that whenever you make a change in your life, whether it's, like I said, whether it's about your body, whether it's about family, whether it's about in your profession, you are always going to have people want to tell you their advice, want to give you their input, and more often than not, especially in England, people tend to have a more negative mindset than they do a positive one, because most people want you to be on their level. And when they see that actually you're looking to improve your life, most people don't want to see that. There's not many people that want to see you become somebody better than you already are, more often than not, because it holds up a mirror to them. And those people often don't know or don't feel like they have the ability to change, and they are, what's the word, threatened by the fact that you do. And if you change, it's going to make them have to look internally about them. So that's always something to bear in mind, that most people will have something to say and it won't always be positive, and you're just going to have to learn to not even accept their opinion, just say thank you, but I'm actually not taking that advice on board. But you all know me, like if you need some positivity, someone to cheer you on, like you can just message me, because I'm always here to help people upgrade in any area. So let me just grab a drink because I'm waffling. I don't even know how long I've been talking on it for now. So for me, last year I lost 22 pounds, and I just wanted to touch on the things that actually changed for me, because so many times I had gone through a diet phase or a photo shoot, and even though I would always get almost close where I wanted to be, I never could fully actually get there. Or if I could, the results wouldn't stay until I embodied these beliefs and these beliefs basically. So, number one, I stopped chasing fast results. When you want to transform your body or transform your life in any way, it's never going to happen quickly. If it happens quickly, it will probably go quickly as well, except that it's going to take time. I focused on feeling better first. I learned to self-correct, not quit. So like I said, it's never going to be perfect. Life isn't like that. But as long as you don't give up and just keep going, forward is forward. No matter how big or small the step might feel, you're still gaining momentum. You're still moving in the right direction. I built habits that I could live with. So I wasn't looking to do all these like crazy, like 20-step morning routines. I did and built habits that I could live with, that were actually sustainable for me. I accepted it would feel hard at times. I think all of us want it to be like this really happy, exciting, easy journey. And actually, sometimes it doesn't feel like that. Sometimes it feels monotonous. Sometimes it feels like, oh my God, I'm just not going anywhere. Like nothing's moving, nothing's working. So knowing up front it is going to feel hard at times, but actually in the long run, it is going to pay off if you just don't stop and you keep going, the results will come. And I didn't beat myself up if I slipped up. So like I said, I wasn't perfect. I accepted that maybe there were times that I let stress get to me, I let emotional eating get to me. And I would just start again. And more often than not, I used to have the mindset of if I slipped up on a Thursday, I'd be like, well, sod it, I'm just going to start again on Monday. I was like, no, I'll just start again on Friday. And now I've got to the point where if I have, I don't know, if I have like I don't want to say like a cheat meal or a binge or something, I try my hardest not to let that pattern go throughout the whole day. I will accept it's happened, draw a line in the sand, try and move myself into a different environment, try and go outside for a walk, try and do something to reset my nervous system. So that could look like going to the gym, that could look like going for a walk, that could look like calling a friend, putting on some music and dancing, like anything to change your vibration, to change your state of being. And then I just move on and accept that that's that. Cool. Like we don't need to have a make a big deal about it. We can just get back on track. Um, and I focused on what I could control and let go of what I couldn't. This is huge for a lot of people, and I feel like if any more people would adopt this mindset, because I see so many people let external factors, let external stresses control their whole life, control their body, control their well-being, control their energy, when actually you getting stressed about something or you being upset about something, yes, it's valid. And I would always say, like, feel the feelings at the time and then move on. Then accept that you continuing to self-destruct, you continuing to be angry, you continuing to let it eat away at you. 9 times out of 10, you doing that doesn't resolve the situation. Doesn't matter how many times, doesn't matter how angry you get or how many times you cry, it's not going to resolve the situation. The best thing you can do is learn to control what you can control and let go of what you can't. Like I said, feel the feelings, like, because your feelings are totally valid and you don't want to not feel the feelings and feel it and then accept it and then move on. The best state of being you can be in is to be calm and to be peaceful, because when you're in that state of mind, you can think clearly and you can actually then start to work out how you can actually resolve a situation. But 9 times out of 10, you being stressed, you getting upset doesn't help the situation at all. You are only literally destroying yourself. And when you do that, you give power to the situation or to the person. And I don't know about you, but when someone pisses me off, I don't want them to have the power. You pull your power back when you take control of your emotions about the situation. So for me, this wasn't a transformation, it was an identity shift, and it really was. Like I had to really, like I said, embody myself, think, believe, and act like the version of me I wanted to become. I had to kill off this version to become this one. Like I literally had to see myself as this version of me when I looked like this, when I didn't feel like this. I dressed like how I wanted to dress. I started to think like how I would see myself. I literally would say to myself in the mirror, like, you're a badass bitch, you're a queen. And it sounds so cringe, but it's cringe until it works. Like it's cringe until you actually believe that you're worthy of the things that you actually want. So trust me when I say that shit works. Like you just have to start thinking and acting and showing up like the version of you want to become, and you will become her so much quicker. So a couple of points that you can take away from this, and ways to not, I put reset, but I don't want to I just feel like that word's thrown around too much in January, especially. But if the main goal for you is to drop fat or just feel a little bit healthier, feel a little bit fitter in general, here are a few simple tips that you can implement. You don't have to do all of these. You could literally just do one that are going to help you become the version of you you want to become. So for some of you, it might be to set a realistic calorie target. So like I said, I've put the link for the calorie calculator there, but if anybody wants it, feel free to just DM me on Instagram and I can send you it. I would look to prioritize protein daily. So like I said, a minimum of 100 grams of protein per day. And if you can, eat mostly whole food. So for some of you, your goal for this week might be just to just eat some more whole foods. Just try and limit the amount of processed food that you're having. That is in itself will make you feel 10 times better. I guarantee that if you did that, if you cut out as much processed food as possible by Friday, you would be feeling amazing. You'd have way more energy, you'd feel way less bloated, your digestion would be way better, your sleep would be better. Just so even just that one change could really help you feel a million times better. That could look like going for walks daily. So more often than not, I set clients a calorie goal of 7 to 10k steps. But again, it's always tailored to the individual. For some of you, if you only maybe do 3,000 steps a day at the moment, then I would say maybe aim to get, what I would say, 3,000, 5,000, like start small, look at what is realistic for you. And like I mentioned, moving your body in a way that feels good for you. So whether that's going for a walk there, whether that's doing YouTube yoga workout, whether that's going boxing, whether that's dancing, whether that's going to the gym, do something that makes you feel good, that you're actually going to enjoy and look forward to rather than dreading. If you dread doing any sort of exercise, that is not the exercise for you. I can tell you that for a fact. Reduce stress where you can. So using the tips I've given you, look to see where you could reduce stress if you're feeling like you are particularly stressed. I mean, I feel like everybody is stressed, which is a really bad state that the world is in. And to drop the idea of perfection because, like I said, that's just not realistic. That's not life. For most people, you don't need a plan. You need commitment to the basics and basics that are actually realistic and achievable for you. Your glow up is a lifestyle, not a deadline. Feeling good is the foundation, fat loss is the bonus. So, like I said, for a lot of us, it's actually one when we're in a place that we feel good, the fat loss will come as the side effect of it. And I'll just put some information on here on ways that I can support you with your journey, however that looks like for you. So most of you know I offer one-to-one coaching, which is the fully tailored nutrition training, habits and accountability. If you want more information on that, feel free to DM me. In February, I have a monthly subscription and challenge whole thing that's coming. And if you're on my email list, you'll get priority access, which you'll actually all be on my email list anyway because you've signed up to this. So keep your eyes peeled. And then I also have confirmed a date of the 10th of May for the next Project Align in-person event, which is the one I did last Sunday at Harbour Hotel. This time I'm going to pull in a couple more ladies in terms of the treatments in the afternoon to make it to switch up a bit. We'll be doing a talk on I'm getting a lady in that specialises in hormones and perimenopause and menopause. So that'd be really, really interesting. I feel like whether you're at that age or not, knowing more information about that, because it's something we never got taught about, which is ridiculous, is always really insightful. And then I'll be doing a workout on a talk as well. Haven't decided yet what that talk will be, but when I know, I will let you all know. So yeah, that is the presentation. I hope that it was all helpful for all of you. Does anybody have any questions? Anything you want to ask me? You can either unmute or drop a message in the chat box.
Hi, Emily.
Yeah.
Just want to say, I obviously joined one of your last challenges.
You did.
And as you all know, that I lost over 30 pounds in 8 weeks. And yes, I totally agree with you. It was hard. It wasn't easy. So I'm not going to lie about that. There was times I was miserable. I would go to bed and hide myself away rather than snapping at people. But in the end, I done it. And yeah, I do feel good. And I managed to keep it off over Christmas. A lot going on at the moment, but I'm trying my hardest. Yeah, really, really good. I would say definitely keep going. And
Thanks for
I will
sharing
do.
that. Thank you. You absolutely smashed it. And I think one of the biggest things that when we spoke before was that you said you thought you'd obviously tried loads of diets before, and more often than not, you always had the idea that it would be hard. And like you said, it was hard, but actually the fundamentals of tracking your calories, once you got to grips with it, wasn't actually as overwhelming as you thought.
You know,
No.
looking in the mirror and actually seeing the difference, taking the pictures like we did every week, and then actually comparing and thinking, my goodness, yeah, you don't really see it on a weekly, but when it's actually in front of you with the pictures, you realize how much you have lost.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thank you very much. It was great. And I'm back again. So here we go.
You are indeed. Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's really helpful. That's really great. Yeah, if anyone's got any questions about the next up and coming challenge or coaching or anything else that I can help with, drop it in the chat. Claire, thank you. Love the focus on health. You're welcome. Gail, so helpful to keep in the forefront of my head and keep working. Amazing. Vicky, really helpful. I did the same plan last year. I unfortunately wasn't in a very good place at the time, but now I've worked on my mental health. I can now carry on. Amazing. I'm so glad to hear that you're in a better place mentally. There's always like when it comes to doing any sort of plan, I think more often people think that you can just start a plan anytime. And actually, it's really important to really consider, are you in a good headspace? Because you can have all the tools, you can have all the information, but ultimately, if your head isn't in the game, isn't in the right place, that has to be worked through first before you can actually commit to something. So that's, yeah, thank you for sharing that, Vicky. I really appreciate that. But yeah, thank you, ladies. I really enjoyed that. Let me know if there's anything else I can help with. Feel free to drop me a DM or a message. I'll keep you all posted with the updates and anything else that's coming. Yeah, and if you want another little masterclass like this, or if you want me to cover something in particular, a topic in particular, let me know, and I'm always happy to run more. Yeah, if it's going to help you, give you some tips and advice, I will always be here to do that. So yeah, hope you all have a lovely rest of your Sunday evening, and yeah, I'll be in touch with you all very soon. Thank you.